You know, there's nothing quite like opening up a fresh container of yogurt in the morning, is there? That cool, creamy texture, that slightly tangy taste, it feels like such a pure and simple way to start the day. For so many of us, it's a staple. We have it with our fruit, maybe a drizzle of honey, or even mix it into our smoothies. It's one of those foods we've trusted for decades as a friend to our health, especially our digestion. But what if I told you that this trusted friend could sometimes, quietly, turn into a bit of a foe? Not because of the yogurt itself, mind you, but because of what we decide to pair it with. It's a little like introducing two wonderful people who, for some reason, just don't get along when they are in the same room together. They cancel each other out, or worse, they create a bit of a ruckus. And when you're over 60, your body, wonderful as it is just a little more sensitive than it used to be. The digestive system isn't as forgiving as it was in our 20s. Things that we used to get away with can now leave us feeling bloated, sluggish, or just off. And sometimes, we blame the yogurt, or we just chalk it up to getting older, without ever realizing it was the combination of foods that was the real culprit. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to uncover 5 of these surprisingly common, yet potentially troublesome, food pairings with yogurt. These are the combinations that can quietly harm you, not with a big dramatic reaction, but with a slow, steady drain on your energy and your comfort. The goal here isn't to scare you away from yogurt, goodness, no. It's to make sure you're getting all the wonderful benefits it has to offer, without any of the hidden drawbacks. So, let's pull up a chair and have a chat about the first 2 combinations you might want to think twice about. Let's start with one that might surprise you. How many of you enjoy a nice, juicy orange, or a sweet, ripe mango, maybe some pineapple or a handful of berries, mixed right into your yogurt? It seems like the most natural thing in the world, doesn't it? Fruit and yogurt are a classic pair. But here's the quiet problem that can arise, and it has to do with the natural sugars in that fruit and the way our bodies process them. You see, many fruits, especially very sweet ones like mangoes, bananas, and oranges, are high in a type of sugar called fructose. Now, yogurt, particularly the plain varieties, has its own sugars, mainly lactose. When you combine a high fructose fruit with yogurt, you're giving your digestive system a double dose of different sugars to break down all at once. For a younger person, this might not be much of an issue. But for us, as we get a little older, our production of digestive enzymes can slow down. Trying to tackle this sugar overload can lead to fermentation in the gut. And what does that fermentation feel like? Well, it's that feeling of bloating, that uncomfortable gas, that sense of fullness that lasts for hours after you've eaten. You might have felt it and just thought, oh, the yogurt was a bit sour today, or I guess my stomach is just sensitive. But more often than not, it's the combination, not the individual food. It's like overloading a circuit. The system just gets a bit overwhelmed. Now, please, don't misunderstand me. I am not saying to stop eating fruit. Absolutely not. Fruit is full of vitamins and antioxidants that are crucial for our health. The key is in the timing. Instead of mixing high-sugar fruits directly into your yogurt, try having them as a separate snack, maybe an hour or so before or after your yogurt. Or, if you really love that combination, opt for fruits that are lower in fructose, like berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. They are much gentler on the system when paired with dairy. It's a small tweak, but it can make a world of difference in how you feel throughout the morning. Now, let's move on to another very common breakfast or lunch habit. How about a nice, cold yogurt drink, like a lassi or a smoothie, washed down with a hot cup of coffee or tea? Or maybe you've even seen recipes for coffee-flavored yogurt. It seems harmless, even delightful. But this combination, my friends, is a classic example of 2 heavyweights clashing in your stomach, and it's one of the biggest culprits for digestive discomfort. The issue here isn't just the temperature contrast, though that can be a shock to the system all on its own. The real problem lies in the tannins. Tannins are natural compounds found in tea and, to a lesser extent, in coffee. They are what give these drinks their slightly bitter, astringent taste, that dry feeling you get in your mouth after a strong cup of tea. Now, these tannins have a particular property: they cause proteins to coagulate, to clump together. Think about what happens when you poach an egg. The clear liquid egg white, which is protein, hits the hot water and instantly turns solid and white. The heat causes the proteins to denature and clump. Well, the tannins in your tea or coffee have a similar effect on the delicate proteins in the yogurt. When you consume them together, the tannins can make the yogurt's protein curdle and become much harder to digest inside your stomach. Instead of the yogurt breaking down smoothly, it forms these dense, heavy curds that your digestive system has to work overtime to process. This can lead to that feeling of a rock sitting in your stomach, bloating, and can even interfere with the absorption of the wonderful probiotics, the good bacteria, that you're eating the yogurt for in the first place. You're essentially robbing yourself of the very benefit you sought out. So, what's the solution? It's all about giving your body some space. Try to have your yogurt and your hot tea or coffee at least an hour apart. Enjoy your yogurt in the morning, and then have your warm beverage mid-morning as a little break. Or vice versa. It's a simple matter of timing that allows each food to be digested properly and comfortably, so you can enjoy both without any of the quiet, unpleasant side effects. These first two combinations, the high-sugar fruits and the hot teas and coffees, are so common because they seem so intuitively right. But as we've seen, sometimes what feels right to our taste buds doesn't always sit right with our stomachs, especially as we get a little wiser in years. And understanding these subtle interactions is the first step toward feeling lighter, more energetic, and more comfortable after every meal. Now, let's talk about another everyday food that, when paired with yogurt, can create a different kind of challenge for our bodies. Now, we've just talked about how something as simple as a hot cup of tea can quietly disrupt the good work that yogurt is trying to do in your stomach. It's fascinating, isn't it? How the little things we've done for years without a second thought can sometimes be the very things that are causing us a bit of discomfort. It's not about giving up the foods we love, but about learning how to introduce them to each other in a more gentle, more thoughtful way. And that brings me to a combination that might be one of the most surprising of all. This is one I see all the time, and I've certainly done it myself many times in the past. I'm talking about having yogurt with your dinner, perhaps as a cool rider with a spicy curry, or as a creamy sauce over a baked potato, or even as a side to a lovely piece of fish or chicken. It seems so wholesome, so balanced. You've got your protein, your vegetables, and your yogurt for probiotics. What could possibly be wrong with that? Well, the quiet problem here isn't about the yogurt in the main course itself, but about a specific ingredient that often finds its way onto our dinner plates, especially when we're trying to eat healthy. I'm talking about raw vegetables. A lovely, fresh salad with cucumber, tomatoes, and bell peppers, or perhaps some crunchy radishes. Now, on their own, these vegetables are powerhouses of nutrition. But when you eat them in the same meal as your yogurt, you're inviting two very different digestive timelines to the same party, and it can lead to quite a traffic jam. You see, yogurt, being a protein and a fat, requires a specific, fairly acidic environment in the stomach to break down properly. It needs time. Raw vegetables, on the other hand, are primarily fiber and water, and they start to break down much more quickly. When you mix them together in the stomach, the slower digesting yogurt can actually slow down the passage of those raw vegetables. This gives the vegetables much more time to just sit there. And as they sit, they can begin to ferment, much like the high-sugar fruits we talked about earlier. This fermentation is what leads to that all-too-familiar feeling of gas, bloating, and abdominal discomfort a couple of hours after a meal. You might lie down to sleep and feel unsettled and gurgly, and you can't quite figure out why. You think, I just ate a healthy salad and some yogurt. But it was the combination that did it. The yogurt, in its slow, deliberate journey, has held up the raw vegetables, and together they've created a digestive logjam. So, does this mean you have to choose between your yogurt and your salad? Not at all. The solution is, once again, about timing and a little bit of preparation. If you want to enjoy yogurt with your meal, consider having it with cooked vegetables instead. The cooking process partially breaks down the fibers in the vegetables, making them much easier to digest and far less likely to cause fermentation when paired with yogurt. A lovely lentil soup with a dollop of yogurt, or some steamed greens, are wonderful combinations. If you really want that salad, try to have it as a separate course, maybe 20 or 30 minutes before your main meal with the yogurt. This simple separation allows each food to be processed efficiently, so you get all the benefits without any of the discomfort. Now, let's move on to another combination that is a real classic, especially for a quick, healthy-looking lunch. I'm thinking of a nice parfait with layers of yogurt, granola, and maybe some nuts and seeds. Or perhaps you like to stir some wheat germ or bran into your yogurt for an extra fiber boost. It sounds like the picture of health, doesn't it? We're always being told we need more fiber, and this seems like a perfect way to get it. And fiber is, without a doubt, essential for our digestive health, especially as we get older. It keeps everything moving smoothly, if you catch my drift. But here's the quiet harm that can come from mixing your high-fiber cereals and grains directly with your yogurt. Many of these dry, coarse grains and seeds, think of granola, bran flakes, even flax seeds and chia seeds, are very absorbent. When you mix them with the liquid in yogurt, they immediately begin to soak it up, swelling up inside the bowl. Now, imagine that same process happening inside your stomach. These dense, swollen masses of fiber can be very difficult for your digestive system to break down and move along. For a younger person with robust digestive juices and stronger muscular contractions in the gut, it might be manageable. But for us, it can be like trying to push a dense, heavy sponge through a delicate hose. It can lead to feelings of heaviness, bloating, and can even contribute to constipation, which is the very opposite of what we're trying to achieve with that extra fiber. It's a real paradox, isn't it? We add the fiber to feel better, but the way we're doing it can sometimes make us feel worse. The key is not to avoid fiber, but to be a bit more strategic about how we consume it. Instead of mixing dry, coarse grains directly into your yogurt, try having your fiber separately. A slice of whole grain toast with your eggs in the morning, or a small bowl of oatmeal, are gentler ways to get your fiber. If you absolutely love the texture that granola adds, make sure it's a very small amount, and more importantly, let it soak in the yogurt for a good 10 to 15 minutes before you eat it. This pre-soaking starts the swelling process outside your body, making it much less of a shock to your system. It's a small act of preparation that shows a little kindness to your stomach. So, we've covered the raw vegetables and the high-fiber grains. Both seem so healthy on the surface, but as we've learned, it's all about how we prepare and combine them. It's about understanding that our bodies process different foods in different ways, and a little thoughtful timing can make all the difference between feeling sluggish and feeling light and energetic. Now, there's one more common combination we need to discuss, and this one is particularly important because it can affect more than just your digestion. It's truly remarkable, when you stop to think about it, how these simple, everyday choices at our kitchen table can have such a profound effect on how we feel throughout the entire day. We've talked about the quiet friction that can happen when yogurt meets hot drinks, or raw vegetables, or even some of our favorite high-fiber cereals. It's not about good foods and bad foods, but about understanding how they interact inside us. And that brings me to the fifth and final combination I want to share with you today. This one is a bit different from the others, because its effects aren't always felt as immediately as bloating or gas. This is a quieter, slower influence, but it's just as important to be aware of, especially for our long-term vitality. I'm talking about the habit of having yogurt with certain processed meats or fish, particularly for lunch. Now, I know that might sound a bit unusual. But think about it. Maybe you have a lovely chicken salad sandwich for lunch, and you have a yogurt cup on the side. Or perhaps you enjoy a tuna salad that's been made with a yogurt dressing instead of mayonnaise, thinking it's a healthier choice. The intention is wonderful, but there's a hidden interaction here that can quietly rob you of important nutrients. You see, many processed meats, and even canned fish like tuna, contain compounds known as nitrates and nitrites. They're used as preservatives to keep the color appealing and to prevent spoilage. Now, your yogurt is full of wonderful, live probiotic bacteria. When these probiotics come into contact with those nitrates and nitrites in your digestive system, a chemical reaction can occur. This reaction can convert those preservatives into compounds called nitrosamines. Now, I don't want to use any scary language, but it's important to know that many nitrosamines are considered potentially harmful over the long term. They can place a quiet strain on your body's systems. Furthermore, the calcium in yogurt can sometimes interfere with the absorption of the iron found in those meats and fish. Iron is something we need to be mindful of as we get older, as it's crucial for our energy levels and overall vitality. So, without even realizing it, this seemingly healthy combination could be subtly affecting your nutrient levels and your well-being. This doesn't mean you can never have yogurt and a chicken sandwich in the same day. Of course not. It's about proximity. Just as we learned with the tea and coffee, the key is separation. If you're having a meal that features processed meats or canned fish, simply enjoy your yogurt as a separate snack a couple of hours before or after that meal. This gives your body the space to process each food individually, allowing you to absorb all the good iron from your meal and all the wonderful probiotics from your yogurt, without them interfering with each other. It's a simple act of scheduling that honors the goodness in both foods. So, there we have them. 5 common yogurt combinations that might be quietly causing more harm than we realized: the high-sugar fruits, the hot tea and coffee, the raw vegetables, the dry, coarse grains, and the processed meats. Now, I know that might feel like a lot to remember. You might be thinking, goodness, what can I have with my yogurt? And that's the most important takeaway I want to leave you with. This isn't about creating a long list of forbidden foods or making mealtime stressful. It's exactly the opposite. It's about empowerment. It's about understanding the gentle language of your own body, especially now that we're over 60. For years, we've eaten a certain way because it's what we were taught, or it's just what we've always done. But our bodies change, and listening to them becomes our greatest superpower. The real goal here is to encourage you to become a gentle detective of your own well-being. Maybe you try having your yogurt all on its own, or with just a small drizzle of raw honey or a sprinkle of those gentle berries we talked about. See how you feel. Notice if that bloating you've accepted as normal starts to fade. Pay attention to whether you feel lighter and more energetic after your meals. This journey is about making small, gentle tweaks, not a complete overhaul, and observing the beautiful, positive differences they make. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Have you noticed any of these discomforts after your meals? Or have you already made a small change that's made a big difference? Please share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and build a community of support and shared wisdom. If this conversation has been helpful, if it's given you a new way to look at your plate and your well-being, I'd be so grateful if you'd give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me continue to create content that I hope brings a little more comfort and vitality into your life. Remember, my friend, taking care of yourself isn't about following strict rules. It's about making thoughtful, loving choices that honor the wonderful life you've lived and the vibrant life that is still ahead of you. It's about enjoying your food, feeling your best, and savoring every single day. Here's to your health, and to feeling wonderful from the inside out.